Alright guys, welcome to the Thursday video. So we got a couple things going on today. We are going to pack the serviceable wheel bearing for the Mazda. So as you can see behind this box, this side is completely back together other than I have to hang the caliper. So that side is done. Like I said, it's going to vary from vehicle to vehicle obviously. We're going to take this disgusting mess and service it and repack it and get it good to go so we can put the other side back together so this thing can leave by the end of February. I know we're on a tight schedule, and then we can get the Fox body in here and rolling. I know we showed you the color that's going to be going on the Fox. If you haven't seen that, go check out that video. I think it was last Sunday's video. Anyway, we got one thing to do first because the bumper for the Prius showed up, and this is going to be interesting because that's how big it is, and it looks like they folded my damn bumper cover over when they shipped it to me. So we're gonna take this off and see how pissed off I'm about to be. So like I said, it really looks like this damn thing has been folded in half. I mean, I know it's a Prius, but this looks really small. Looks like they folded the ends all the way down, so I don't even know if this is gonna be the right shape. Okay, so yeah, they definitely folded the hell out of this thing. They folded the hell out of it. I mean, it's definitely for a Prius. It's definitely the bumper cover I need, but it's all folded up. I mean, how the hell am I supposed to put that on my car? We got all sorts of big creases on the side of this thing. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk to one of the guys I know from work that works in our body shop and see if there's a way to like straighten this thing out. I'd imagine that I could be able to just like set it up, maybe put some weight on it and stretch it out, and eventually it'll form. Also, it's a little chilly in here still, so bring it inside where it's warm, maybe something like that. There's no like defined creases in it or anything like that. It's just like all bent. So hopefully I can straighten this thing out and it's still usable. What we got for paint is Duplicolor Perfect Match. So like I said, I have a big air compressor out here. It's actually right here. We got this air compressor. It's about as tall as I am. And we actually used that to paint the F100, and it worked great. We put some inline filters in it and it works, but it's a lot more of a pain in the ass to set up. So I want to get this thing looking good as soon as possible. So we're gonna go through a video once I get this thing straightened out and show you how to do that with this Perfect Match Duplicolor paint. The thing with spray paint is it shoots out a lot. It's not as even as a spray gun would be, obviously, and it also applies a lot thinner coats. You can get good results. You just have to apply way more coats. It takes a little more time, and you have to do a lot of cutting and buffing and sanding and stuff like that, depending on how good you want your result. So anyway, now that we got that kind of squared away, I guess, it's sad. It actually looks kind of grumpy. We're gonna get into the wheel bearing. So let me set up. I'm gonna get ready to get my hands dirty, and then we'll get right back to you. All right, guys, so I'm pretty much ready to go, and we're gonna show you how to repack your wheel bearings, clean and service everything with minimal tools in your garage. Just how you would do it if you didn't have, you know, a full shop full of tools and all the fancy seal pullers and all that stuff to your availability. So when we get going on this, it's going to be really messy, and I apologize, but we're only going to have one camera angle. So I'm going to set you guys up, and you're kind of going to get a point of view video on how to do this, and it's going to be kind of boring, but that's really, with this mess and my camera gear, it's the only way that this is going to work. So I'm going to set you guys up, and then we're going to get rolling right into it. God, the one time I need my duct tape and I can't find it anywhere. Yes, I'm putting you guys up with duct tape. Minimal camera gear, I'm poor. All right, guys, so like I said, this is now the view you're going to get. We're gonna go ahead and get dirty. We got our seal right here, which is gonna go in last. Bearing's gonna go in, the seal's gonna go in right here on top. We'll show you how to press that in without damaging this. First thing we gotta do is take this bearing out of here. You can see it's kind of covered in old, gross grease. We're gonna set that aside for just a minute. Then we're actually gonna look inside this, and you can see there's a bunch of old grease in there. So we're gonna go ahead and get that as clean as we possibly can. Obviously, the cleaner the better. You wanna try to remove all that old grease from inside there on the race where the bearing's going to sit. Make sure you don't get any debris in there. That race in there is where the bearing's going to seat, and you wanna make sure it's as clean as possible. nasty. Make sure you got plenty of rags. Alright, so I got the bulk of the grease out of there. You can see it looks a lot better. So I'm going to do two different things right now. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to soak a rag. I'm going to soak one of my rags in brake clean and wipe any of the excess grease out of there. Then I'm going to go ahead again and wipe it down with a clean new rag just to get all that brake clean out of there. After I do that, you can see in mine, it's kind of hard to see, down there where it looks dark past the race where the bearing's going to seat, you can see there's kind of a cavity in there. I pulled a bunch of old grease out of there, so before I forget, I'm going to apply new grease into that dark cavity right there by my fingertip. I'm going to do that, clean that race off, then we'll get to packing the bearing. Alright, so I filled that with new grease, cleaned off my race. And this part's important, I put on a fresh set of gloves because now we got this bearing. I already wiped it down, made sure it's all nice and cleaned off. When you do this next part, you don't want any debris to get into onto your bearing or inside the rollers or anything like that. So I put a fresh set of gloves on so I can grab some brand new grease. Now this is just the way I do this. I've seen people clean these out with solvents and stuff like that. I don't like doing that because I think, you know, what if some of it gets left behind in there and you get grease over it and stuff like that. And the grease is literally the only thing lubricating this bearing, these bearings inside that cage. So I get it as clean as I can, get as much of the old grease off, and then I'll pack it and pack it and pack it and keep going until I know that there's a nice amount of fresh grease inside this cage on these bearings, and it will be good to go. It's important to note too that you want to inspect your bearings, make sure that everything feels like it's moving nice and smooth, as well as to make sure there's no gouges in this cage or bends or any of them are loose or anything like that. If the bearing looks pretty good, you're good to go to repack it. Now, if you do end up replacing your bearing, it is a really good idea to replace the race at the same time, which is where the bearing's going to sit inside the hub here. I inspected mine. It looked nice and clean. There wasn't any nicks or grooves or gouges or anything like that in it, so we're good to reuse both sides. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to put a bunch of this grease in my hand here, and we're just going to work it into this bearing. Like I said, I apologize for the one view that you're getting, but once I get dirty, I didn't want to touch my camera gear. So we're going to grab some more of this grease. This is where it gets kind of messy. So you're going to put this in your palm, just like this. There you go. You're going to take your bearing, and you're going to work it in there. Push it into your palm. Just start pushing that new grease into the cage in between those bearings there. You can really do this, you know, I mean, you want to do it quite excessively, but you can do it really as much as you want. Once you feel like you got a good amount of grease in there, and I like to go up on this edge where the cage is from the bottom side too and get it in that crease, that crack, whatever you want to call it, crevice. And then I'm just going to kind of work it around and in there. Then I'm going to use my palm, which is full of the new grease. This is all new. Again, change your gloves so you only have new grease. And then you're just going to kind of do this and kind of forcefully work that grease into that bearing. Just like this. You run out of grease in your palm, add some more, and it's going to work it in to that cage of that bearing. Just like that. You can see we're starting to get that new grease in there. I'm going to keep doing this, and then I'll catch you when we get to the next step of the video. Alright, so we got our bearing fully repacked full of fresh new grease. The next thing you got to do is just plop it down in there. Make sure it seats nice against that race, just like that. Then, it's time to put this seal in. Now these seals are, obviously this could differ a little bit depending on the vehicle you're working on, but generally they're going to have a metal ring all the way around. This is the inside of the seal, which keeps it nice and tight to our hub. And on this side, you're gonna have, hard to see, there's actually a spring in here. So I wanna make sure this goes in as easy as possible. And I wanna make sure that I use a little bit of clean grease or Vaseline, or I've seen people use dish soap, and I like to lube up this metal piece just a little bit. So I'm gonna run just a little bit of new grease around that, just like that. Now this part, technically you should have a proper service tool to do this, but I'm gonna show you how to do it without damaging this if you're just doing this at home. You don't have a seal installer set. So there is a way to do it without damaging this seal. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place the new seal. Like I said, this metal is gonna go into the back here. That's what's gonna seat it and keep it nice and tight. I'm gonna put it on there, and I'm just gonna make sure that it's not sitting like kitty wampus like this. I wanna make sure it's as level and centered as possible. Kind of just feel around with your fingers. You want to get it straight, so make sure it starts straight. Now, the trick that I use, if you don't have the proper tools, is I'm going to wipe this down really quick. This is actually the old seal that I took out, and it's all worn out, but it's the exact same size as this new seal, obviously, that we're putting in. So I'm going to put it upside down on my new seal. So I'm going to take the outside and set it right on there just like that. Once I do that, I want to make sure that I'm going to be applying pressure to the entire thing. I don't want to just bump around it on this particular type of seal because this one has rubber around the entire outside. So I don't want to damage any of this. Like I said, that spring is inside there. We don't want to damage that. So I put this face down so it's just touching the outside of my seal. And then find something that's going to cover the whole surface of this. You don't just want to be hitting on one side or the other. I'm just going to use this block of wood. You can see I already used this to the other side. Works perfect. So I'm going to place this on the seal just like that. Then I'm just going to lightly tap it with a hammer or a mallet, whichever you have. Inspect it. I got a little farther to go on this side. So in this case, then I can tap because this side's a little bit high still. I can tap on this side. You don't got to go crazy. There we go. Might be tough to see, but you can see the seal is bottomed out all the way around our hub. That's exactly what we want. And again, we used a block of wood for a couple different reasons. One, this fits the whole surface area of the old seal. You'd never want to take this wood and place it directly on the new seal and pound on that because you risk damaging the seal. I always save the old seal if I don't have a kit, and I'll just put it on there like that. That way, it's got a little bit of rubber in there, and it's the same size as the metal ring that you're installing. So you know you're seated on that ring, so you're going to get a nice uniform hit. And then the wood's also going to absorb a little bit of the impact versus using like a block of metal or a brick or something like that. This is going to be a little bit easier on it. So we're good there. Got a little bit of dirt on the outside of that seal. That's okay. And now we have successfully packed a wheel bearing, installed it in our hub, and this is ready to go back on. So this, just like the other side, is going to slide right onto the snout of the knuckle, and then we can put the rest of the stuff back together. We're good to go. So there you have it, guys, packing serviceable wheel bearings. Like I said, after you get to that step, putting it back on your truck or your vehicle is going to depend on the vehicle that you're servicing. But I hope this helps you out just a little bit. Remember, the cleaner you get it, the better your result is going to be. And you want to take your time with stuff like this and make sure you do a really good job. Get a lot of that new grease in there. But yeah, I hope this helped you guys. I'm excited. The other messy part of the Mazda is now finished. So it's just bolting that side back together, and then we're out of here. This thing is good to go. So hopefully in a video to come, we'll have the sad excuse for the Prius bumper straightened out so that we can actually use the damn thing. Other than that, I hope you guys found this video entertaining. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We upload every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned for more. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. See you next time.